You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast. Today we have me, Maxwell Brown, and I am joined by Jack Hope. Jack, how are you?
Yeah, Max, I am good. Another thrilling IPL playoff contest for us to discuss. Another last over classic. Well, maybe not a classic, but another last over good game of cricket. Virat Kohli bowing out, not as champions. So, our list of good narratives has lost it's
been shortened by about 33%.
Which is a shame for Kohli and any RCB fans out there. But that's cricket, baby, as Mike Atherton is fond of saying.
Absolutely. So yes, as Jack has alluded to, we are here to talk about the game today, Eliminator number 1 between RCB and KKR, and picking the bones out of RCB's failure yet again to win the IPL. It's what else can you call it? They ended up in a situation where they had to play this game because they clearly didn't put enough stock in trying to actually come second, given the opportunity, and here we are. We've seen how devastating that can be to your chances. But before we get into all of that, Jack, do you want to run through the many messages that we have for our listeners?
Yeah, here's the first message. Go to Twitter and paste this into your Twitter and share the word. We want to increase the profile of the podcast. If you're over on Twitter, @the Cricket Pod is where you can follow us as well. Second message, we are sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. Max, how many runs did you score with your Woodstock bat this year?
Oh, I lost count, Jack.
Lost count.
Couldn't keep count of how many runs I scored.
For me personally, it was about 400, average of about 56, the same as Sachin Tendulkar in Test matches. So they're pretty good sticks.
How many runs do you reckon Sachin would have got if he had a Woodstock?
Oh, well, at least double the number. I'd have thought. At least double. And finally, patreon.com/the cricket pod. That's in the show notes. If you want to support the podcast directly, we have recently processed, synthesized, created a data sheet for every single ball bowled in the entire history of the IPL that you can sort and like do your own analysis of. I think the cheapest membership level is $5. I think it's well worth it. You could become a data analyst from the work we have done. Don't thank us, pay us. Patreon.com/the cricket pod. What happened in this cricket match, Max?
What happened indeed? Well, as I said, it was the Eliminator number 1, and we got to see Kohli v Morgan in a potential dress rehearsal of what we might see in some World Cup head-to-head battles, and the venue was Sharjah, and the question that everyone was pondering: what kind of pudding would the ground staff be serving up this evening? And at first it looked like quite a solid one, maybe an overbaked biscuit. It looked pretty solid as Kohli and Padikkal, possibly slightly uncharacteristically, actually flew out of the traps and got KKR off to a pretty decent start and a pretty strong power play. But once DDP fell, it was time for Captain Two Caps Morgan to intervene and implement Operation Deaths by Spin as Chakravarti, Shakib and Narine strangled RCB, basically. Narine took all of the other spinners' wickets on his way to what is surely now known, Jack, as doing a Harpreet Brar.
Yes, he did. He completed the bra, didn't he?
He
got Kohli, he got Maxwell, he got de Villiers. They weren't his first 3 wickets in the IPL, so
no.
he didn't go full bra.
Not full bra. Never go full bra.
But he certainly left his mark on this match.
Certainly did.
Narine.
4 for 21 off his 4 overs, and from that point on, really, RCB's innings kind of plodded towards a close, and we were left sort of pondering, really, just one of the many subplots that were developing throughout the game. Could Dan Christian score enough runs to ensure that he finished the season with more runs than catches? Would Virender Sharma ever get an umpiring decision right again? And how many more times will we hear Matthew Hayden say, "Never take a run on a misfield"? The answer to the last one is at least once more in a comical final over. But after all,
he is going to hate coaching Pakistan.
No, he's the saviour. He is the saviour. He's going to love it. He will turn things around. But yeah, after all that, it was a target of 139, and don't know what do you think of that? Did you think it was about par?
No. It was if you're gonna win the toss and bat first on a pitch where everyone's winning chasing, and it's consistently seemed to get better as matches have gone on, or at least in the last few weeks. Then the thing that you absolutely do not do is bat first, nurdle the ball around, and leave a fucking roadkill of a score out there for any competent team to chase down. Now, the contest today was not as high quality as the cricket match yesterday. Yesterday the cricket was absolutely top drawer. It wasn't quite that good yesterday, but these are still two very good teams. And if you're gonna lay down the gambit, as it were, by batting first, you've got to be way over par. You've got to be 150, 160. I mean, probably to be honest, 160, I think was what you should be aiming for.
Yeah.
And to leave themselves 20 runs short of that was pretty criminal. We can talk about how that happened, because they were masters of their own demise to quite a significant extent today. Were RCB. So, yeah, but I think it all starts with the toss, Max. You win the toss, you bat first. It's a cool statement. It very much says, like, we're here to play. We're going to be really positive. We're going to go out and attack it. But it's also a really dumb statement. It's you're going out there and you're announcing that you're just ignoring, what's happened in front of your eyes in this tournament, and that you're going to go out there and make a one-off elimination match harder than it should have been. Like, these cricket matches are difficult matches to win. There's a lot of pressure. Don't put yourself in a situation where you've got your fourth, fifth, and sixth bowlers having to pull it out the bag for you near the end.
Well, it was like it's a bit like what we've been saying over the last couple of shows of like this. There seems to be a kind of groupthink now of making people bat at like 3 or 4 because you keep the left-hand right-hand partnership, and like looking for some sort of marginal gain when actually the gain is to be had in making the clearly obvious decision. And you talk about showing that you're here to play or whatever, and maybe there's a mental side that you want to put out and be like, yeah, we're here to do the business, but actually any gain you get from behaving like that is quickly erased by the fact that obviously it's better to bat second on this pitch. But anyway, so he does that. I mean, we might as well call this podcast "List of RCB Mistakes." That's the first thing they get wrong. To be fair, in the power play, that's the only time in this game where they weren't making blundering mistake after blundering mistake. Was sort of this spell, the first 5 overs of the match, and then a little bit when Chahal was bowling later on. But yeah, the first 5 overs, what did they get? 48, 49 before that first wicket falls. Yeah, 49 for 1 off 5.1 overs. It was a really positive start from Padikkal, and it was a really positive start from Kohli. And you think, you've laid the groundwork for at least 160 if you put 50 on in the first over for just one wicket. You were talking 170 at that point, weren't you? After like 6-7 overs.
Yeah. You do. I mean, what does that work out? 8 and over, I think, gets you up to 170 from there, and that's a good score. That's a match-winning score. But they didn't do that, And there's 2 reasons for this, aren't there? I think one is that Morgan clearly got it spot on, and we have to hand out some credit here to Morgan if we're gonna have a dig at Kohli. Yeah. Morgan got it spot on. He switched up his tactic from some of the other games in this half of the tournament, which has been to go quite spin heavy in the power play. He went pace heavy, which was a risk against Kohli, and especially who's a much better player of pace than he is against spin. And it looked like it might not have paid off when it got to the end of the power play, and RCB were were on top. But what it meant is that you had this whole middle over spell where Chakravarti was spinning the ball this way and that way. When Narine bowled, I mean, Narine didn't bowl till the 9th over of the game, I don't think, or maybe even the 10th over of the game. But he was able to come in and I mean, you said it yourself, strangle. It was an anaconda-like performance from the spin trio of Shakib, Chakravarti, and Narine, and they couldn't get away. I mean, just look at those economy rates: 4 overs, 24, no wickets. That's Shakib Al Hassan. He's bowled in the power play. And didn't he bowl one of the death overs as well, or something like that? They're great figures for a spinner, you know. A defensive spinner like Shakib Al Hassan, you're not expecting him to pick up those wickets. You're expecting him to go for under 7 and over. So big tick there. Chakravarti, 4 overs, 20. They had no idea which way the ball was going to go and decided to play him cautiously because they didn't want to lose wickets, or they did know where it was going to go and they just decided they weren't going to attack it, or some combination of the two. You know, 20 runs from 4 overs in an IPL eliminator at Sharjah on a pitch that wasn't quite as gluey or crap, to be honest, as some of the other matches here. And then Sunil Narine capped the lot. As you said, took the other spinners' wickets to some extent, I think. As usual, I thought he was out bowled by Chakravarti, but the numbers say 4 overs, 21 runs, 4 wickets, and 5.25 economy rate. Off the top of your head, Max, that's 65
12 overs, 465.
Yeah. That's really good. You can afford Shivam Marvi spraying the ball around and getting hit about a bit. If you're going to bowl like that, and it was good captaincy from Morgan to bowl the spinners when he did. It was bad batting from RCB to not exploit the good platform they've given themselves.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Well, I guess that takes us to summary part 2, where we look at KKR's innings, and they started fairly quickly as well. And it was George Garton who bore the brunt of most of that, with Shubman Gill taking him to the cleaners to a certain extent. And at that point, it was Virat Kohli's turn to play his trump card, which wasn't all of the spin, but Harshal Patel, obviously. Virendra Sharma remained consistent, umpiring like the world's most die-hard Kolkata Knight Riders fan you've ever seen.
We need to have just a quick mention of the 2 absolute clangers that he dropped in the first innings, because not only were they bad calls, they also cost RCB a couple of runs. Now, in a low-ish scoring game like this, a couple of runs could have been crucial.
Well, 7 off the last over becomes 9 off the last over.
I think the way KKR batted, they could probably have chased 150. I think it went a bit deeper than it needed to. It was below a run a ball for 6 overs. They just didn't,
decided they didn't want to score the runs.
The spear into the heart of the RCB whale, as it were. But yeah, the first one, is
he
middled it.
He's literally middled it off leg stump.
Smashed it. It was so clear that he'd hit the bat. It wasn't even like his pads were in front of the stumps as well. It was only the bat that it could possibly have hit to stop the ball hitting the stumps. So
if it had hit the pad, then it would have been going down the leg side and hit him outside the leg stump. There was a lot wrong with that.
And then the second one, it was like, he was trying to top trump himself with the second one. It hit him outside off stump. It hit him, it wasn't going to hit the stumps. It was closer to being a no ball for height than it was to being a wicket.
Yeah.
What was he smoking? To be honest, to make that call, it was a shocker. And if this had gone down to the last ball, I think there'd be some very, very angry RCB fans right now.
Quite rightly so. It's ludicrous.
But I mean, I think they need to look at the rule about runs scored after. I mean, because
they do it with wides, don't they? If there was one the other day where they appealed for a caught behind, and the umpire didn't give it, but didn't give the wide either, assuming it flicked some pad or something, and they reviewed it, and it turned out it hit absolutely nothing, and he ended up giving the wide. So why not have it the same way with runs off the bat if you're going to do it with wides?
Yeah, I mean, this will happen at some point. I mean, it's a long shot thing, but this is something that will happen in cricket. Somebody will be given out erroneously LBW on the last ball of an innings. Ball will go for 4. It will win that team the game because they'll need 2 to win or whatever. But because the umpire gave it out, it'll be a dead ball, dot ball, and the team that didn't win the match will win the match.
I think you'll find, Jack, the most likely situation for that to happen is England versus New Zealand in the 2020 World Cup final in a month's time. But,
actually.
Yeah. Where were we? We were halfway through the innings, weren't we?
Something like that.
Yeah. Sharma got his third one wrong. And Kohli wasn't very happy, was he? He got told off like a little child.
Well,
that was quite funny.
He did get told off like a little child.
But I think he was probably right to be a little aggrieved at that stage after the 3 that had happened before.
I did like it when he launched the ball into the floor, right by the stumps.
Yeah, that was
just
good.
in sheer rage at the situation.
But once that had been overturned, and we should credit to Chahal again, who bowled really well, and Tripathi did not know what he was doing to that delivery. He played. You could tell he just didn't pick it. He played that like it was going to spin away, and it didn't. It was a classic googly wicket. But that sort of brought the game back into the balance. Really, I think it was at 79 for 3, and things were looking pretty tight. But no, it was time for Operation Blow It. And that consisted of bowling Dan Christian at Narine.
Well, right. Yeah.
And not someone else.
In cricket, we talk about this all the time. There are good matchups. Off spinner bowling to 2 left-handers. That's a good matchup. There are bad matchups. Leg spinner bowling to 2 left-handers at the most basic level, or a left arm off spinner bowling to 2 left-handers. Then there's this matchup. This is the one thing that you do not do if Sunil Narine walks out to bat.
Whatever form of Sunil Narine walks out to bat as well. Like peak Narine, middle Narine, back Narine. Doesn't matter. Don't do it.
You do not give the ball to your slowest medium pace trundler that you've got and tell him to sort of whack it in halfway down the wicket at Sharjah. Like, all of the things that could have possibly been stupid about this decision, it was tick, 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 tick. Narine is a limited hitter of the ball. He's not going to hit your best players. He's not going to hit anyone who bowls fast. But give the ball to George Garton. If you want to dig it in, give the ball to George Garton in that situation. Give the ball back to Siraj. Siraj had an over. Let Chahal bowl at him. Glenn Maxwell bowl. Off spinner to a left-hander. Do anything. Except give the ball to Dan Christian in this situation. And if you do, then you deserve to be pumped. And pumped he was. It was
pumped in the most pumped way you could possibly be pumped. 3 balls, 20 runs.
Yeah, it was doubling down on the mistake. Well, it wasn't doubling down on the mistake, I suppose, because wide is not worth 6. But Narine comes out. He's the first player to hit his first 3 balls for 6. But in between that, Christian's completely gone to pieces, completely lost his ball here. Bowls 2 wides. It was an absolute tragedy of an over. Like you could not have been more stupid to give him the ball. He could not have executed a worse over. And, to be fair, let's give credit where it's due. Narine couldn't have hit the ball any fucking harder. Like, he
absolutely smoked it.
He was
straight
really,
one.
He was really, really, really hitting the ball very, very hard. And it's the one thing that he can do with the bat is keep his head still and club bowling that's slightly subpar.
I assume he's a very good golfer.
Well, I don't know. He was probably good at the long drive contest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know about anything else. Aren't you supposed to keep a straight front elbow in golf? And we know he's got a little bit of trouble with that. So it's possible.
True. Maybe not. Yeah.
it's possible that wouldn't work out. But the batting today from him. It completely transformed the match. It went from a game that KKR was 70% favourite to win. They were in control. It felt tighter than it was, I think, because the pressure was there. The crowd, which was great, by the way, having a crowd that were like up for it and really supporting one team. There was quite a partisan RCB crowd there. They were creating this atmosphere that made it feel a little bit like a bear pit, probably for the KKR batters. Out comes Narine at where was he batting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Batting at 5 at third drop, and 6. Game over. I mean, it literally was 70% to 95%.
It took the asking rate to under 5s at that point. I think it was.
Yeah.
And at that point it was pretty much writing on the wall. There was time for a little bit of a wobble at the end. Mohammad Siraj bowled a really good. Was it the penultimate over to keep things interesting, including the world's longest review for a caught behind, which Dinesh Karthik was so bored by he just took matters into his own hands and walked off the pitch. I enjoyed that.
Yes.
I mean, he walked twice. He walked when he didn't get given, and they went upstairs anyway. And then he walked before they'd even come to the decision. He just was like, "I've had enough. I'm off to the changing room. It was out. Why are we still here?"
Yeah, I wish sometimes more people would do that. But it was what it was. I mean, to be honest as well, we talked a lot about Narine here. Narine hits his first 3 balls for 18 runs. He scores 8 off the next 13 balls. We're talking about a limited batter here. You've literally fed him the one thing he can do. The rest of the time out there, they didn't really know what he was supposed. Like, he was halfway in between two schools of thought. He was like, should I keep hitting the ball or should I be a batter now? You could see the lack of competence, to be honest, in the way that the geezer was batting. He won the game for KKR, and then was one of the players that contributed to it being a last over finish in the end by not really doing anything after that. But yeah, it's that decision to go for Dan Christian. We actually know what, mate. We need to talk about why Dan Christian is in the side in the first place. What is the point of a guy who, until today's top score, or at least in the second half of the tournament, in fact, no, I think the whole tournament was 1. Why are you picking a guy who's scored 1 as his top score, and you've been batting him at like 3 and stuff, so you obviously think he should be in there as some kind of a batter. Why would you pick someone who's provided no evidence that they can do one of the things that you're asking to do, and who, just from the eye test, is so visually poor, out of his depth compared to the other bowlers you have available? I mean, like, let's just really briefly look and talk about who else could have played in this game.
Well, before we do that, why don't we talk about who else played in the game and didn't bowl?
Who's this?
Have
I missed somebody?
Shabazz, wasn't there? Just didn't bowl him.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I don't...
if you're gonna end up with Dan Christian having to bowl the last over, and you've got like 3 people who've not gone for any runs and bowled spin.
I love that Dan Christian the last over. It was like he saw Pant yesterday bowling the last over and was like,
I can outdo that.
I'm going to one up him. Hold my beer, Rishab.
Let me show you why I'm stepping down as captain.
Yeah. But let's talk about who wasn't in the squad that could have been. Tim David.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Tim David's a much better.
You want a batter? You want a batter who can come in 6 or 3 or wherever and do some hitting. How about him? You're playing on a pitch that you think might favour spin. Max, would you like to play Wanindu Hasaranga? Would he be one of the players that you like to pick?
I forgot he was even there. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. Just one of the most exciting spin bowling all rounders in the world. Yeah. Sitting on your bench because you've got 707-year-old Dan Christian as a lucky charm because he bowled a pointless middle over spell the other day that picked up a couple of wickets. Like where is your thought process here? Keep going down the orders, or keep going down the list. Kyle Jamieson, the man you spent $2.1 million on, 15 crore. He's not even a worse batter than Christian. He's a better batter.
I mean, I wouldn't bat him at 3, but I also wouldn't bat Dan Christian at 3. So yeah.
No. And then if you're like, we might be a bit short on bowlers here. You've got Kamira. If you think you need an extra pacer, then why not pick him? But whichever way you want to set this team up, Dan Christian should not be in your 11. And there he is. And not only is he in your 11, you're giving him like the box seat fucking batting position, either at 3 or as the death hitter at like 7. And you're using him as to nullify the other team's most dangerous hitter and bowl the final over. It's when you're strategizing for this game, when you're thinking through the different steps, you're game planning. We've seen the RCB videos on YouTube where Mike Hessen's playing 3D chess, bidding on Steve Smith to get other people to bite so that they waste their money. Yeah, you know, when you're doing your agent of chaos stuff, your decision tree bollocks, why are you fucking ever leaving yourself in a situation where that's one of your game plans? You know, or are you not doing this? Or are you just like neglecting to do the job? You know, I presume they have an analyst. Why is the analyst not pointing out these like really basic strategic errors that are being made?
Yeah, or maybe the thing is with analysts, Jack, they're trying.
Apparently, the Sri Lankans had left today, so
yeah.
So they
but I mean that's fine. That's fine for today, but that doesn't answer the question of why he's been playing in the last 5 or 6 games, does it?
Doesn't answer the question of why Kyle Jameson
doesn't answer the question why Kyle Jameson is sat there on the bench. Yeah, I mean, that's mind-boggling. That is absolutely mind-boggling. But you know, like you said, I think maybe with the analysts, Jack, their job is to find the extra 10%. Look for someone who could do the job, who's might not be that well heard of. Maybe find someone that you can bid on and get a bit of money ball going, and not to just tell the manager what the most obvious thing in the world is. Like I don't know. I don't know if any of like
just be a yes man.
Yeah,
just be a yes man. I mean, like, you know, is anyone? I mean, obviously not, because he's retiring as captain, which is probably a good thing, you know, based on performances like this. Is anyone at any point, do you think, actually saying to Virat Kohli, some of your strategic decisions, some of your tactics on the pitch here are bad, Virat? I would be surprised if that conversation was happening. Just because you're good at cricket does not mean you know how to put fielders in the right place and work matchups and tell people where to bowl. Sometimes it does. You know, we talked about Dhoni glowingly yesterday. He was excellent as captain. But just because Virat Kohli was the best batter in the world doesn't mean he actually knows what he's doing as a captain. He's just the fact that he chose to bat first here, I think, has had as big an impact as Sunil Narine on this game, on the outcome of this game.
Well,
you're probably talking 10-15%.
That's the problem with not winning many tosses, isn't it? Once you do, you get in a panic.
He's won 4 in a row. He's got some experience in the bank.
Recent experience.
Yeah. He's turned his toss game around. Just when it's all coming to an end, he's turned it around. And it's, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, sometimes you just can't. There are things that are sort of unexplainable, really, and like the most logical, obvious decision to me, which is play your players who are good, not your players who are, aging veterans of Big Bash. It's not like Dan Christian's been effective in T20 domestic cricket in Australia, but
mate, if I wanted to build a blast team, he'd be in.
Yeah,
but you're playing the IPL, pal. Like, it's not. This is big boy cricket.
To step up.
It is. This is the eliminator of the IPL, and you've got 39-year-old Dan Christian in your pivotal batting position and bowling your final over. Which other franchise would do that? That's a catastrophe.
Punjab.
Punjab would do that, yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's what more is there to say really than like that? Yeah, they colossally blew it on the pitch, off the pitch, before the game. It's mind-boggling. It's like they don't want to win.
Yeah, it was like they didn't want to win. I mean, I know he did. After the game, I felt sorry for him. He looked like he was in tears. Kohli, this is. Obviously, it means so much to him to do this. But the fact of the matter is, for all of his gifts, this sort of thing happens a lot when he's captaining the side. Aside from Test cricket,
like in the short format,
he's very good. Yeah. But in Test cricket, let's be clear here. In Test cricket, there's quite a lot less strategic nuance. You bowl Bumrah and Shami 7 overs at the beginning of the day until they're a bit tired. Yeah. You take them off, then you bowl Sharma and someone else. You might bring Jadeja on here and there. And very occasionally, you might try a short ball field and put a couple of guys out on the leg side and a short leg and a leg gully or something like that. But generally what you're doing is rotating people, not making spur of the moment strategic calls and lining up your tactics properly and remembering where people's hitting zones are and relaying that information to the bowlers. You can't captain a T20 like a test match. They are different skills. Test cricket is about like inspiring people and getting people to be motivated, to bowl through the pain, to dig in when they're batting, to take the blows, to recompose themselves when the other team are on top with the ball, so that you get a good total on the board. It's about scaring the opposition at Lords by just being Virat Kohli.
Maybe
that doesn't really work in this
a
scenario.
wacky strategy when you're trying to desperately try for a wicket, try something a bit different. But it's trying different things doesn't tend to work in T20, does it? You kind of need to focus on what's like directly in front of you.
Yes, and he hasn't. I'm afraid to say it, and it is a bit simplistic. But they captained them. He captained them out of the tournament today. He shepherded them like a bunch of lambs to the slaughter. Here you go, boys. Come on. Off we go, Siraj. Come on, George Garton.
Not just any old
AB de Villiers. Thank you for giving me your good years, AB de Villiers. Let's go. It's time to go to the slaughterhouse.
It's off to the UK slaughterhouse as well, where no one's actually going to butcher them and they're just going to die for no reason.
Yeah, that's what it felt like today. Yeah, how can you make that call? I've said this 7 times in this book. How can you decide to bat first in this game?
You've also got a guy. I mean, I've just seen someone mention Harshal Patel. Like, you've got a guy on your side who's had the tournament of his life. He's been denied the opportunity now of getting clear of DJ Bravo's 32 wicket record. He's only managed to tie it, but most wickets in a season, like joint, held that. Harshal Patel has somehow from nowhere managed to do this, and you've not managed to make it to the final with that performance. Like you say, you've got Glenn Maxwell playing like Glenn Maxwell again, and AB de Villiers as well. It's it's a bit of a catastrophe really that they've not made it. But it's should we maybe build KKR up a bit as well, because it's a bit depressing going in 2-footed on RCB. As fun as it is, we should probably at least end on a slightly more positive note. And the turnaround that KKR have managed to put together since
they've mirrored. It's a mirror image, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was it 7-2 and 7-2, or 2 and 7 and 7 and 2 to whatever it was, 5 and 2. They you know what I mean. It has been good. It has been good, especially as still you sort of look at that batting lineup and you're like, Eoin Morgan coming in at 7 today. He has had a shocking tournament. Dinesh Karthik hasn't really done much. Narine hadn't done anything till today, to be honest. Nitish Radha's been mainly slow. So Shubman Gill in a lot of the games he's played in. Venkatesh Iyer was great in his first couple of matches and then has faded. And Tripathi sort of been decent the whole way. That's not like a complete, like a really, really fearsome batting line, especially without Dre Russ. But they found a way. And a lot of this is by playing, quote unquote, aggressive cricket, fearless cricket. Again, we do this on a lot of podcasts. What was the boundary count today? 10 fours for Royal Challengers Bangalore. I think it was 9 fours and 4 sixes, or 8 fours and 5 sixes. For Knight Riders, so they hit more sixes, obviously, but also 3 or 4 more boundaries overall. Wasn't like a stunningly high number of boundaries that they hit. They didn't chase this down in 12 overs, but they won the game, or they won the battle of the most important metric in T20 cricket, hitting the most 4s and 6s. And they've done it here, as they have in some of the other games actually, by having an ethos as a team to go out and play this way, and knowing that if it doesn't come off for Venki Iyer today, as it didn't, that Shubman Gill will be at the other end hitting the ball all over the place. If it doesn't come off for Tripathi, as it didn't today, Sunil Narine will come in and hit some runs. They have obviously in the second half of this tournament established trust between the different members in this batting unit, that somebody will bail them out if they take a risk and it doesn't pay off. and bought into that strategy overall, that if you do take those risks, mostly their talent will carry them through as a collective.
Yeah,
I think that's really what we saw today.
Yeah, and I suppose you can. We spent a fair bit of time having a go at Eoin Morgan for some of his decisions and the way he's played, but you can probably put a lot of that down to him, and also probably maybe even more so Brendan McCullum, in charge of the side. That's sort of, it's that top down kind of approach, isn't it? And the top four, there's not a star talent in there, at least an ingrained star talent. Obviously, like Shubman Gill is hot property, and Venki looks like he might be a hell of a player. But there's no one. You haven't got a Glenn Maxwell or an AB de Villiers in there who is. Look.
Do you want to have a look at the two batting lineups? Gill, Iyer, Chapati, Rana, and Narine. Do you want that, or do you want Padikal, Kohli, Bharat, Maxwell, de Villiers?
Yeah.
By having a decent power play and then not pooing themselves, and carrying on the momentum, sending in Narine. That's a big risk. If that doesn't come off, people are asking questions. Got a bit lucky maybe that it did, but it's a bold move to try it, and fair play. Well batted KKR, and really well bowled. I mean, those spinners again. That's the big difference, I think. Was with those 12 overs of spin. Although the three best RCB bowlers, just looking at the stats here, outperformed the three best KKR bowlers. That's a little bit of a quirk.
And then you've got Dan Christian stinking the place out.
Last question on this, and it's another Kohli thing. Would you have bowled Maxwell at the end, two left-handers at the crease? It's a long shot, isn't it, to defend 7? But would you have gone Maxwell over Christian?
Maybe. It's. I reckon that's a 50-50 shout, to be honest. You've got a guy who's not great, a bit slow, probably easier to hit, but is actually kind of more of a experienced bowler. And you're part-time off spinner. The matchup's better, but he's a part-time off spinner. So 50. That's a 50-50 call for me. I think where really the problem is not managing the bowlers better, throughout the game, and that you're at the end of the game, you've got a choice between Dan Christian and Glenn Maxwell. That's the problem.
Yeah. Right. Any final word on RCB? It's obviously the end of an era for them, and then we'll do a little bit on the next match.
No, it's a bit of a sad way for them to go, I guess. But yeah, bye, Captain Kohli, and welcome, Captain. Who's it going to be?
Padikal.
Who's it going to be?
Padikal. Yeah. There's a really good comment. This is really how we should end it. Where is this? There's too many comments. Mayank a few minutes ago in the chat. Actually, Padikal has been negatively affected by Kohli. Anyone who hangs out with Kohli becomes a tuck version of himself. Example: KL Rahul became tuck Rahul after hanging out with Kohli. And I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a little bit of an indictment of Kohli as the captain of RCB in that statement. I think it might be good for them that he's moving on. Before we get on to the next game, just a quick message. If you're on what's it called? What are we on? YouTube. Any platform, hit subscribe, hit follow, hit share. That's really what we need. Our fans to share our content with their friends and family and fans, if they've got fans. That is a big help to the podcast. As I said at the beginning of the show, patreon.com/thecricketpod. We've got some data surprises in there if cricket analytics is your thing. As far as I know, the only available sorted IPL data for the history of the tournament is available on that Patreon for just $5. That's good.
What a steal.
$5. Yeah. What would you do with that? What would be the first thing you'd analyse?
How much we can blame KL Rahul and Kohli for batting slowly on their teams losing games.
Okay, you can do that. Yeah. It's like 2 pivot tables. You can have that answer in 45 seconds. So head over there, patreon.com/thecricketpod. It also keeps us in business.
Yeah.
Not this is a business. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Gives me more incentive to slowly add more information to the table of data.
Yes, that's true. What have we got so far? We've got batting position, score,
Yeah,
phase of the game,
we can get some.
venue,
We'll get some batter scores as the game progresses.
scores.
See how many
Yeah.
people freeze in the 30s.
That's what we want. That would be good. Yeah, batter scores. Whether people won or lost. We can do lots of stuff.
Even make requests.
Yeah, request. Sign up to our Patreon and then make a request. That's getting your money's worth, ladies and gentlemen. On Wednesday, we're going to be joined by Mr. Daniel Norcross, who, aka Smoking Dan or Wine Dan, for people in India. I think there are probably like a reasonable segment of our fans who don't know that Dan is like is one of the voices of radio in UK cricket. Aren't there, Max? Like, I think some people think he's just our mate who likes a cigarette, but Daniel Norcross is quite famous in his own right.
The more we go on, the more he might become our mate who likes a cigarette. But yeah, he did definitely start. He did definitely start as an actual cricket commentator from Test Match Special. So
yes, that's a really
he
long
is to be
effort.
revered.
We're going to be here Wednesday. It's the big one, not quite the big one, but it's the biggest one so far. There's the big one on Wednesday. Kolkata Knight Riders. We saw them today. The complete team. That's an overstatement.
They're the underdogs.
They're
more than the sum of their parts.
Yes, that's it. The more than the sum of the part. Kolkata Knight Riders with specialist captain Eoin Morgan ride into battle against Delhi Capitals, who will be trying to reach their second IPL final in a row. Max, what are your first thoughts on this contest, which is effectively a semi-final, isn't it?
Well, yes, that's pretty. Yeah, that is what it is. With the final berth decided by the CSK. I would be wearing my CSK top, but it's really cold, so I'm wearing a hoodie instead.
Yeah, it has got cold.
It has got cold.
That's another reason to give us money.
So we can afford gas central heating. Yeah. I think it's gonna be really tight, this one. Because Delhi Capitals, obviously. I mean, you would have gone over it yesterday, but they blew it, didn't they? Yesterday, let's be honest, they blew it by Tom Curran won them the game and then lost them the game in almost the same breath. But I just feel like Delhi Capitals have got the edge. I think KKR have done brilliantly to get this far, but I just feel like it might be one step too far for them. I think Delhi, with the second bite at the cherry, I think we'll be getting a repeat of Sunday's game in the final. But I would like to see KKR in there just so that we have something different.
Yeah, I think the KKR comeback would be a really good narrative. I also think the battle of the specialist captains. Although I don't know if we can call Dhoni that now after
he's a finisher.
The battle of the specialist captain versus the best on form finisher in the IPL, MS Dhoni, would be pretty good, I think. That's the final I'm dreaming of. To be fair to Delhi, though, and we're always fair on this podcast, we don't hold any biases against anyone. Least of all KL Rahul. The best final, I think, would be, in terms of cricketing here, would be Delhi v CSK. They've obviously finished first and second, but they finished very deserved first and second. I thought it wasn't really that close.
And comfortably.
Yeah. I still don't necessarily love Delhi. I don't know why. I still just think there are a couple of weaknesses there. But against the Knight Riders, I'm not sure KKR have got the tools necessarily to exploit Delhi in the same way that CSK were.
The KKR shouldn't have won today, but they were able to take advantage of weaknesses in RCB's approach, and I think Delhi Capitals haven't got as many of those.
Yeah, in the chat, Babu Rao says, for Delhi Capitals, it's quite simple. Drop Tom Curran and win. To what extent do you agree or disagree with that comment?
I mean, what do you know why he played the game on Sunday? Was there a particular reason for it, or they just fancied they just thought, you know what, this really important game of cricket is a great time to decide to give Tom Curran a bit of practice ahead of the World Cup.
It's another one of those things. Nobody really ever tells you the truth about who is injured and how badly they're injured and so on. Obviously, Stoinis walked out of a game or got injured earlier in the tournament. He was the guy who was sort of giving them a little bit of balance with a few overs. Plus, he is significantly better batting than Tom Curran. I think that's fair to say. Now, some people have been saying that Stoinis is fit to bat but not bowl, and they wanted a bowler, and that I suppose cut down the options a little bit. I think we probably both agree that isn't the greatest call of all time to play Tommy Boy.
No, I don't think so.
But I don't know. He also didn't bowl that badly.
It almost paid off, up until the last over. And is the fault there? I mean, obviously, Tom Curran is the man who performed the deed that ultimately ended up with CSK winning the game. But how much blame are you putting on Tom Curran there, who we've said before perhaps isn't the world's best death bowler, when you've got other options available to you? That
no, he should never have had that. I mean, he should always be Rabada. It was absolute mayhem, like completely brain dead from Rishabh Pant. It was as brain dead as the moment.
And
where
what was he 2 for
shadow
16
the
off
wrong
3
way
before
in
that?
the Test series. He'd done his job. Just give it to Rabada and hope for the best. That's how cricket works. You give it to the best one at the most important time. They could go for batters. They could go for Sam Billings. They could bring Steve Smudger Smith in.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You're saying to that?
No.
Didn't they play? I might be making this up. Didn't they play Amit Mishra? Basically, didn't Tom Curran come in for Amit Mishra? So they could go like spin heavy. This match, by the way, will be at Sharjah.
Right.
So, could they go for the Holy Trinity?
Yeah.
Akshar.
Death by spin,
Ashwin.
definitely. That's the way to go.
I don't know.
They were musing, weren't they, on commentary? What pitch will they actually be playing on? Because normally you can see one that's being prepared, but there was no sign of that today. It was just a bunch of used pitches. So I've got no idea what they're going to be rolling out on Wednesday. Yeah,
I think it will be interesting from Delhi's point of view. I mean, in the last game, they promoted Akshar up to 5, so Pant was at 6, Shimron Hetmar was at 7, and Tom Curran was batting 7 for them, with Ravi Ashwin at 8. Ashwin
didn't Akshar bat
4? Yeah, he did. Yeah.
What was that about?
I don't hate
That's
that.
mad.
I don't hate that. I think Akshar's all right. Akshar Patel's basically Sunil Narine. He's only slightly less good at batting, and they're basically the same bowler. I don't really hate that at all, particularly if like you've only decided to play 5 batters.
Yeah, well, I suppose that
he was coming in at 6 or 4, wasn't he?
The issue with that is more that you've picked the Indian coronavirus side rather than the T20 team.
It was a bit like that. You're sending Boovie at 4 or Boovie at 3. It's. I think you can get rid of Curran and either go spin crazy or you pick a batter.
Lalit Yadav
could do that. I don't like that very much, but I would rather have Billings. And then play 5 bowlers. But then they'll get worried about that. This is why whenever I look at Delhi, this is what I'm saying now. It's what's going on in my head. I normally just sort of brush over
because the best option doesn't scream out at you.
They aren't. I just don't think it fits together very nicely as a puzzle. I think they're a team with 3 like pretty good bowlers, and I think they're a team with 4 pretty good batters. And then they've got, just whoever else turns up sort of fit. They're like quite a good, in recreational cricket in the UK, quite often this happens. You'll go and play some village and they'll have like 5 guys who should be playing serious cricket. And then it'll be like Dave, the fucking booze hound, batting at 4, doesn't know which end of the bat to hold. There'll be 3 moonball bowlers because otherwise they won't be able to complete the overs. And as long as you can get round the good players, or like any sort of semi-decent team, won't ever lose that match. Yeah. And that's sort of what I think with Delhi. But I don't know how decent KKR are either. It's a bit of a weird IPL in that the tournament in the second half has petered out a little bit because some of the teams are very near the end of their cycle in terms of age and players. Some of the teams sort of just didn't really recruit for this season or the second half of this season. And through the middle of all of this, KKR have just sort of charged through as an open goal to some extent and just beat all the dross, and you're there. And I'm not sure that makes you a great side either. I don't think in last year's IPL KKR would be able to pull this off, but they have. Look, for the sake of balance, I am going to say KKR are going to win if you're going to say Delhi.
Yeah.
But I do think this is like basically a genuine 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to preview for that game?
No, that's unless we're all hoping for Ravesh Khan to take 9 wickets and and overhaul Harshal Patel.
What's your favourite current narrative for the win? Obviously, we've got Dhoni.
Obviously Dhoni. I'm a CSK fan. It's got to be Dhoni.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Right, you're asking the wrong guy.
I think the Knight Riders would be quite fun if they won.
It would be funny. I think we can agree that the only not interesting narrative is Delhi Capitals winning.
But then Dan Norcross did point out, Dan Norcross did point out, could be Knackle, that they have like a long completion at narrative to them. This is like James Bond 4 for Delhi, what's the one that's out? This is No Time to Die for Delhi, isn't it? This is their last stand, their last go around before it all falls apart. It's been building up. It started, 4 years ago with Casino Royale, showed a bit of promise. Who's that Pank guy? Wonder if he'll come back. Be interesting. Then they had 2019. They weren't very good there. Quantum of Solace. 2020. Spectre or Skyfall. Which one was that? Skyfall.
That's the best. Ages ago.
Yeah, well, whatever. You just stick with the narrative. Stick with the thing. Skyfall. Good. The best Delhi Capitals iteration to date. And then, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's going to go one of two ways, isn't it? Like it's either going to be what an epic end to the James Bond Delhi Capitals Daniel Craig era. The Daniel Craig era of the Delhi Capitals. That's what I'm saying it is. That's a good narrative. The Daniel Craig era of the Delhi Capitals.
I mean, we've had to work quite hard to find one, but
now I've got it.
Yeah,
now I've got it. Right. Delhi. I want Daniel Craig to win.
It's Dhoni versus James Bond versus Captain Morgan. There's your options.
Yeah. Let us know on Twitter, Instagram @thecricketpod, or in the chat, or in the comments. Subscribe. Blah 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 blah. Which narrative do you like? James Bond, Dhoni. Dhoni, you can't even really compare him to a film franchise, is it? Because he transcends them all. Or Eoin Morgan, who you probably could compare to a franchise. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Used to be good.
Yes. Right, that's a good way to end the podcast. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back Wednesday with Mr. Daniel Norcross.
Goodbye.
Recording stopped.